Well, hello there, friends, and welcome back to Royalty USA. I am James Carter, and oh my goodness, after the last couple of videos we have shared together, which were important and serious and necessary, I think today we all deserve something warm and joyful and just absolutely lovely, because today I want to tell you about the final day of King Charles and Queen Camilla's historic American tour. And friends, it was pure magic from beginning to end. There were horses and national parks, and pizza, and donuts, and chicken wings, and Victoria sponge cake, and a community block party, and a swearing-in ceremony for children, and a brooch with a story so beautiful it made me catch my breath. So pour yourself something warm, settle into your favorite chair, and let James Carter take you through one of the most charming days the royal family has given us in a very long time. Now, before we get into the final day specifically, let me just take a moment to appreciate the full sweep of what King Charles and Queen Camilla accomplished on this tour, because it truly was something historic. This 4-day state visit, hosted by President Donald Trump, was the first state visit by a British monarch since May 2007, when Charles's own mother, Queen Elizabeth II, was hosted by President George W. Bush. Nearly 20 years between visits, and Charles made every single moment of this one count. He addressed Congress. He attended a magnificent white tie state dinner at the White House. He visited New York City and laid a wreath at the September 11th memorial. He met tech billionaires and senators and ordinary Americans. And on his very last day, he went to Virginia and ate chicken wings at a potluck. I mean, honestly, is there anything more wonderfully human than that? CBS News. But let us talk about Queen Camilla today, because she has been absolutely radiant throughout this entire visit, and on the final day, she truly outdid herself. For the last day of the tour in Virginia, Queen Camilla chose a soft blue midi dress with a flowing skirt and added pleats that gave it a beautiful angular definition. Now I want you to picture this for a moment. A warm spring day in Virginia, the rolling hills and the gorgeous countryside all around, and Queen Camilla stepping out in this soft flowing blue, the color of a clear sky, the color of calm and grace and quiet confidence. She looked absolutely beautiful. She looked like exactly what she is, a queen who has found her stride and her style and wears both with effortless ease. Unofficial royalty. She paired the dress with black pumps and her usual beloved collection of Van Cleef and Arpels bracelets. Those bracelets that we have come to recognize as her signature, her constant companions at every engagement. There is something so personal and so warm about that detail. Camilla has her style, and she knows it, and she owns it completely. Unofficial royalty. But here is the detail that made me stop and just smile with everything I had: the brooch. Queen Camilla chose to wear the late Queen Elizabeth II's Cartier Union Jack and Stars and Stripes brooch. The very same brooch she wore on the first day of the American tour when they arrived. She began the tour with it, and she ended the tour with it. And when you know the history of that brooch, the gesture becomes even more beautiful. That brooch was given to Queen Elizabeth as a gift during her 1957 visit to the United States, presented to her at a luncheon hosted by New York Mayor Robert F. Wagner. Think about that. A brooch given to Queen Elizabeth nearly 70 years ago, a symbol of the friendship between Britain and America, now worn by Queen Camilla on her own historic first American tour as queen. Bookending the entire visit with that piece of jewelry was not an accident. That was Camilla saying, "I am carrying her with me. I am honoring what she built. I am continuing what she started." And in one small, shining piece of jewelry, she told the whole story of the special relationship between two great nations across 7 decades. Unofficial royalty, unofficial royalty. Now let us talk about what they actually did on this glorious final day, because it was one of the most varied and genuinely fun royal days I have seen in a very long time. The day was split beautifully between Charles and Camilla, each doing something that speaks directly to their individual passions and personalities, which I always love to see. These are two people who are genuinely themselves in public, and that authenticity is one of the things that makes them so endearing. King Charles, who is known for his deep love of the outdoors and the natural world, spent part of his final day touring Virginia's Shenandoah National Park, one of America's 63 national parks. Now, if you have never been to Shenandoah, friends, let me tell you, it is one of the most breathtaking places in this entire country. Rolling mountains, ancient forests, valleys that stretch out as far as the eye can see. And Charles walked through it with the kind of genuine wonder and reverence that you simply cannot fake. He met with park staff to learn more about the park, which covers 200,000 acres in Virginia, 200,000 acres of American wilderness, and the King of England walked through it and was visibly moved by it. The royal observer, the royal observer. But here is the moment from Charles's day at Shenandoah that absolutely captured my heart. He joined a swearing-in ceremony for a group of junior rangers, the National Park Service's program for children, the King of Great Britain, standing in an American national park, swearing in little American children as junior rangers. Friends, some moments are so perfectly wonderful that they almost do not feel real. But it happened, and I imagine those children are going to be telling that story for the rest of their lives. The day the King of England swore me in as a junior ranger. If that is not the most charming thing you have heard all week, I do not know what is. The Royal Observer. Charles also spent meaningful time with members of the Monacan Indian Nation who live on their ancestral lands in Western Virginia. And this speaks to something about Charles that I think often gets overlooked in the headlines about state dinners and congressional speeches. He genuinely cares about indigenous peoples and their relationship with the land. He has spent decades championing environmental causes and speaking about the deep connection between communities and the natural world. Meeting with the Monacan Nation was not a photo opportunity for him. It was a conversation he genuinely wanted to have. The Royal Observer. And then, oh then, came the potluck. Because yes, friends, the King and Queen of England attended an American community potluck. Charles and Camilla joined locals in Front Royal, Virginia, for a block party and potluck celebrating America's 250th birthday. And the food on that table was as gloriously, wonderfully American as you can possibly imagine. Pizza, donuts, chicken wings, King Charles III of Great Britain, eating chicken wings at a Virginia potluck. I love this country so much. The Royal Observer, the Royal Observer. But here is the part that makes it even better. They did not just show up and eat everyone else's food. Charles and Camilla contributed British dishes of their own: coronation quiche, Victoria sponge cake, and honey from the royal beehives. Royal honey, friends. Honey made by bees that live at the royal palaces, brought all the way across the Atlantic and set out on a potluck table in Virginia alongside pizza and chicken wings. If that image does not make you smile, then I simply do not know what will. That is the special relationship between Britain and America right there on one table. Coronation quiche and donuts, Victoria sponge and chicken wings, together, sharing a meal, celebrating 250 years. The Royal Observer. Now let us talk about Camilla's piece of the final day, because while Charles was hiking through Shenandoah and eating chicken wings, Camilla was doing something that speaks to one of her greatest and most personal passions. Camilla visited Smitten Farm near the Plains, Virginia, where as patron of horse racing in the United Kingdom, she learned about America's own horse racing industry, and she was completely in her element. There is something so genuine and so unguarded about Camilla around horses. The formality drops away. The carefully composed public face softens into something warmer and more real. She loves horses the way some people love their oldest friends, with a comfort and a joy that needs no performance. The Royal Observer. The farm manager walked with her through the property, and Camilla, looking at a horse with that particular soft expression she gets around animals, said about owning and breeding race horses, you have to go with the ups and downs. You have to go with the ups and downs. Friends, I feel like Camilla was talking about a great deal more than horse racing when she said those words. This is a woman who has gone with the ups and downs of public life for decades, who has faced scrutiny and criticism and complicated headlines and come through all of it with her dignity and her warmth and her sense of humor completely intact. You have to go with the ups and downs. Queen Camilla knows something about that. the Royal Observer, and through all of it, the farm visit, and the potluck, and the national park, and the junior rangers, and the blue dress, and the brooch. She wore that brooch, Queen Elizabeth's brooch, the stars and stripes, and the Union Jack, the symbol of two nations choosing friendship, worn on the first day and the last day of the most historic Royal American visit in nearly 20 years. That is not a small thing. That is Camilla understanding the weight of history and choosing to carry it beautifully. I want to take just a moment to zoom out and look at the whole visit together, because now that it is complete, I think we can appreciate just how extraordinary these 4 days were. Charles and Camilla took Washington by storm, with Charles delivering a rare joint address to Congress and earning a warm reception at the White House State Dinner. They visited New York City and met with celebrities and community leaders. They laid a wreath at the September 11th memorial, honoring the Americans lost on that terrible day. And they ended their tour in the Virginia countryside, eating potluck food with ordinary Americans and watching horses at a farm and swearing children in as junior rangers. The Royal Observer, from the grandeur of the White House to a potluck table in Front Royal, Virginia, from congressional standing ovations to chicken wings, from the most formal state dinner in 20 years to honey from the royal beehives set out beside pizza and donuts. That range, that ability to move gracefully between the highest ceremony and the warmest human ordinariness, is a gift, and King Charles and Queen Camilla have it in abundance. And now, as the tour ends and Charles boards his plane to continue on to Bermuda, the first royal visit of his reign to a British overseas territory, I find myself feeling something I can only describe as grateful. Grateful that we got to watch this. Grateful that history was made in such a warm and human and genuinely joyful way. Grateful for Queen Camilla in her soft blue dress and her borrowed brooch, standing in the Virginia sunshine, looking at horses and smiling her real smile. Grateful for a king who hiked through Shenandoah and swore in junior rangers and ate chicken wings. Grateful for the reminder that even in complicated times, even against the backdrop of serious world events and political tensions, two great nations can still come together and share a meal and celebrate and mean it. The Royal Observer. That is the royal tour, friends. That is the tea. And what a beautiful, warm, full pot it turned out to be. Thank you so much for being here with me today on Royalty USA. If this video made you smile, and I hope it did because goodness knows we could all use a smile, please give it a big thumbs up and share it with someone you love. And if you have not yet joined our Royalty USA family by hitting that subscribe button, please do it right now. We have so much more royal tea to pour together, and I want you here for every single drop of it. Leave me a comment. Tell me your favorite moment from the Royal American Tour. Was it the congressional speech, the state dinner, the potluck chicken wings? I want to know. I read every single comment, and your words mean the world to me. Until next time, God save the King, God bless America, and James Carter will see you very soon.